Hello, and welcome to another episode of the FemiNinja Project. And thank you so much for tuning in. I have an incredible guest with me today. He's going to talk about one of my favorite subjects, which is health, wellness, and fitness over 40. Of course, I specialize in fitness over 50, but I guess now I have to say over 60. And in a few years, it'll be over 70. So, anyway, our guest's name is Allan Misner. He is a health, fitness, and lifestyle coach who helps people over 40 lose weight and get fit so they can live the life they were meant to have. Allan has his own story of personal transformation when he had a wake up call just before his 39th birthday. Once an athlete, he let himself go as work stress, a toxic relationship, and poor health choices left him out of shape and overweight. At that moment, he decided to make a change, improve his lifestyle, and reclaim his fitness. It wasn't easy, but he eventually reclaimed his health, fitness, and well being, and now he is on a mission to help others do the same. Allan is also the host of the 40 Plus Fitness podcast and author of the award winning book, The Wellness Roadmap, a straightforward guide to health and fitness after 40. Allan, thank you so much for being here and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Cheryl. This is an honor. Thank you.
Well, it's an honor to have you. And of course, like I said, this really truly is one of my favorite topics. And I can just hear the audience kind of like their ears perking up right about now because there's something about turning 40. But just
Yes.
go back and share your story with including how you had this like mental head smacking moment, that wake up call that you'd better do something.
Yeah. Well, the first thing I'll say is, we're talking about people getting older. Do you know that the millennials are turning 40 now? Just
Thank
to
you.
tell you how old
I
we are.
really needed to hear
Yeah.
that.
Okay. Yeah. So it's changing the way I look at things too, because I'm almost 60. But I was 39 and I was a workaholic, but I was a very good workaholic. And I had been very successful in my career. I was a vice president of a Fortune 500 company at the age of 39.
Mm.
So I had everything I was supposed to have. So, I get to the end, I'm like, I'm supposed to be happy, right? I did the thing. I climbed the ladder. I'm at the space. I'm in the C-suite. This is wonderful. Um, but I wasn't happy. And so I took a vacation because I hadn't in a number of years.
Mhm.
And I forced myself to go to this timeshare. I literally bought the timeshare the day I got there, went in for the presentation, said, just sell it to me because I'm going to do this because I need the investment to do the thing. And a lot of people won't wrap their mind around that. But when you put your money into something, you tend to do the work.
Mhm.
And so this was my investment into myself to say, I will take a vacation every year because I'm buying this week at a timeshare.
Mhm.
Now, what was really cool was they had the projects, the things they were going to do during the week. They're going to do this on Monday at this time and all. So I'm looking at that calendar and it says they have sand volleyball in the morning. I'm like, oh, this is great. I want to do that. I haven't played in a number of years. I'm excited to get back on the court. And I did. I got on the court the next day and almost died. I literally subbed out after the first game and I was really close to asking them to take me to the hospital.
Whoa.
And I was 39 years old and that was happening. So I'm sitting on that beach the next morning and I'm just thinking, yeah, I'm great in my career, but I'm in a terrible relationship. I don't like my life. I'm not healthy. I'm not fit. I'm always, and I literally in that point, it popped in my head, you're just a fat bastard. And I
Mhm.
didn't even like myself.
Mhm.
So I'm like, okay, I have to fix this. I have to fix this. So now it was an all-inclusive resort. So I did spend the rest of the week drinking my butt off. But that's
That
what we
sounds like a
do.
really great plan. Right.
What's what we do. We say we want to do something. We
Yes.
decide we want to do something. And then yeah, with good earnest, with good heart, when I got back on Monday, I tried and I failed. And I tried and had a little success and I failed. And I tried something else and I failed. And I tried and I failed. 8 years
Mm.
of this back and forth and back and forth. And I'm laying in a hotel room 8 years later. So now I'm 45, 46, and I'm like, okay, what have I done in 8 years towards this decision I made? And the answer was not a damn thing. I'm sorry, but
Mm.
not a damn thing. And so I had just had a conversation with my daughter. My daughter was 20 years old. She'd gotten into CrossFit. She got her level one certification. So she's coaching CrossFit. She's doing these obstacle courses and she's having a blast. And I'm thinking she's who I was when I was her age. If we had these
Mm,
things when I was her age, I would have been doing them too. Then she asked me the question, Daddy, will you come watch me at this CrossFit competition? And it hit me in that moment that what she was doing was was acknowledging me as a spectator in her life.
mhm,
And I wanted to be a participant.
mm,
I had never intended to be a spectator. I always want to be a participant. And so it was then that I got to thinking, why have I been successful at hard things in the past? What makes
mhm,
this different?
mhm,
Well, the only thing that was really different was those other hard things that I had done, the CPA exam, getting the promotion, doing this or
mhm,
doing that, was I had committed myself completely to doing it. It was full commitment. There was an emotional reason why I was doing it, and there was a clear vision of where I was going. And I worked day and night to make it happen. I had never done that with my health and fitness. I had never truly committed to getting it.
mm,
So I did this silly thing and I messaged my daughter and I said, Hey, how about we do a Tough Mudder together? Now, a Tough Mudder is a 12 and a half, 13-mile run. It's out in the boonies and mud fields. So you're in mud, you're climbing, you're crawling, and there's like 25 obstacles. So this is not just like a half marathon. This is a really big deal.
mhm,
Was I in any shape close to being able to do that? Absolutely not. But I signed up for it with my daughter. We were going to fly down to Florida and do it. So I had a stop, drop, dead date to get it done,
mhm,
which was about 8 months from when I did that sign up.
mhm,
And I did everything I could, day and night, working at it, doing the things the same way I'd done every time I committed to something. I was completely on task. I was completely doing the thing. And it's
mhm,
fortunate at that point in time, I was capable and able to do that kind of health and fitness sprint. We're not
mhm,
always in that position, but I
mhm,
was. I had ended that toxic relationship. I
mhm,
was taking more time for myself at work. I had actually changed jobs to something that was a little less stressful. And now I was working on me. And so after 8 months of training, I was able to do the Tough Mudder with my daughter. I
mhm,
had lost 66 pounds of fat. I gained 11 pounds of muscle.
mhm,
And I was able to do the Tough Mudder, not just do it and complete it, but do it at a pace that kept up with my daughter. She didn't have to wait for me for
mhm,
anything. I did the race. I didn't wreck myself.
mhm,
And I tell people this, when I talk about being a participant in someone's life rather than being a spectator,
mhm,
the easiest way for me to put this in is to say, okay, there are 3 points in time that are my favorite, most wonderful points in my life as it relates to my daughter. The first was when she was born and she wrapped her hand around my pinky.
mm,
Okay. The second was me walking her across the aisle
mm,
just a year or so ago. And I don't know if I look back at where I was, that I would still be here to have done that, but I was. And then
mhm.
the third is holding her hands as we cross the finish line of that Tough Mudder.
Oh, oh, that's so sweet. So a couple of things. First of all, I love the fact that as an adult, she still calls you daddy. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad was daddy until the day he died. So, and the other thing was the fact that you struggled for 8 years trying to do this thing. And once you changed your mindset and you changed your focus, you were able to make remarkable progress in only 8 months. And that to me is just absolutely incredible. And then the other thing I wanted to ask you is when you told your daughter that you'll do it together. You'll do the, Tough Mudder together. What was her reaction? Did she laugh or did she say, "Oh my God, this is going to
Well,
kill you"?
she didn't laugh. She kept that. If she did, she kept it to herself.
Oh.
I really remember like getting off when she got off the plane. I was standing outside. She came through the gate and she's like, "Oh my God, Daddy, you're skinny." Because losing 66 pounds it
It's a
looks,
lot.
there's a look, there's a look. Um, you know, I had no business signing up for it, but
Mhm.
and initially I wasn't sure how to get there. That was part of the problem. Back then, there weren't online coaches.
Mhm.
There weren't coaches that specialized in people over 40.
Mhm.
And so here I was traveling a lot. I actually had a job I traveled about 90%.
Ooh,
And people hear those percentages, and if they haven't done travel, they don't really know what that it means. I'm home one weekend a month.
right.
So it's really hard to have a personal trainer
Yeah.
and get anything done if you can only meet with them 2 or 3 times in a whole month.
Mhm.
So I knew I had to do something to educate myself to a
Mhm.
point that I could be my own trainer. So when I said working day and night, I wasn't in the gym day and night. I wasn't
Mhm.
outside running day and night. I was literally sitting in a book, getting my certifications. And
Mhm.
so I knew I needed a certified personal trainer. I knew I needed some nutrition stuff, and I knew I needed to correct a few things once I got into it. So those were my first things. I got all of these certifications initially for myself,
Mm.
and then I trained myself.
Mhm.
Now, a lot of us will come up with excuses. Well, I'm traveling so much that this isn't a
Mhm.
good time. You know, I'll do it
Mhm.
after. Well, there wasn't going to be an after. My whole career, I traveled like that. So there wasn't an after until I was retired, if I
Mhm.
made it to retirement, because
Mhm.
so many people in my industry, so many people in what I do, you make it to retirement, and 2 years later, you're not alive anymore.
Mhm.
And so this was something I knew I needed to do, and I figured out. So people will say life is in the way, life gets in the way. And I'm just going to tell you, no, life is the way. It's our responsibility to ourselves and the people we love to figure it out.
Mhm.
And
And a
so
lot
many
of time
times people
a lot of
won't.
times we have to figure it out for ourselves, or, and on our own.
Mm.
And
Yeah,
especially with such an incredibly life-changing event. I mean, I think it would have been a little bit easier if you had a coach, somebody who really knew you and somebody who knew what your history was, what your dreams were, where you wanted to go with it, but there's so much more to it, your personal history, your biology, that a lot of times having somebody who isn't in alignment with what your belief system and what your goals are can actually cause more harm than good or get in the way.
can. So part of what happened was because I knew, I mean, there wasn't even a podcast. If you were out there just looking for information, the only thing I found a couple of books on Amazon for people over 50, and every single one of them was just about stretching. That was the most intense thing you could do as someone over 50, was just stretch. Um, there was no getting back in shape. There was no way. It
Mhm.
was everybody's the
Mhm.
same. Everybody does it this way. This is how it
Mhm.
works. Take my diet. It's the best diet. Go.
Mhm.
And that had never worked for me. And so I did know that I needed something custom. I needed something for me, something that fit
Mhm.
where I was, dealt with my injuries, dealt with the things I needed.
Mhm.
And I was able to do that. Now in my coaching practice, that's exactly what I do. I don't
Mhm.
do cookie cutter program stuff. I sit down and get to know each of my clients, and I spend time talking about what they need to accomplish. What does it look like for them? And so a concept I use for fitness, I think we can all understand weight loss, but
Mhm.
for fitness, I use a term I call fit for task. So what does fit for task mean? Well, my grandfather loved golf.
Mhm.
And so I was visiting him. I would visit most years. I'd go for Thanksgiving to see my mom, and I'd go visit. So I'm sitting in the golf cart with him. We're tooling around, and it comes time for the guys are going off to play golf. And usually this is when he would go off with them, and then I'd go visit other family members in town. Well, he
Mhm.
doesn't get out of the golf cart. And so I'm like, hey, you're going to go golf with guys? He's like, no, I can't play anymore. And I'm like, what's going on? He says, well, it's my balance. He said, I really struggle with the swing. I just can't hold my balance. I said, well, do you want to go to the driving range and work on it? He's like, no, I just can't do it anymore.
Mhm.
So here's a guy who loses golf, this is the
Mhm.
love of his life, even more so than his wife. But but then you'd think, okay, well, he's 80, so he lived to the age of 95, which means 15 years of his life he never got to do the thing he loved most. Now, I would love to say the story got better, but it did not. Okay, his health continued to decline because he wasn't doing anything about it. At the
Mhm.
age of about 90, he is living in assisted care, but he
Mhm.
can't make it from his chair to the bathroom in time.
Ugh.
So every time is a cleanup that he's not capable of doing. And so he wouldn't let people come visit him after the age of 90. So the last 5 years of his life, he was alone. The only person he would let come over was my Uncle Charlie. And I didn't see him the last 5 years of his life. So when I talk about fit for task, it's not always training for a tough mudder. It's not always,
Mhm.
sometimes it's just being able to open your own pickle jar. It's
Mhm.
being able to make it bathroom. I say, I want to be able to wipe my own butt when I'm 105.
Mhm.
Okay, that's fitness. That's fitness for task. And so if we stop thinking about exercise, like, oh, I hate
Mhm.
sweating, I hate doing this, but think about who you want to be.
Mhm.
I know we didn't have Tough Mudders when we were growing up. We had
Mhm.
5Ks and other little
Thank
stuff we would
God.
do, games and stuff. And then they have Tough Mudders and whatnot,
Mhm.
Spartans and all that. I don't know what they're going to have in 15, 20 years when my
Mhm.
grandkids at that point are going to be doing those types of things. But guess what? I want to be a participant. I don't want to be a spectator. So I'm going to be that crazy 70-plus-year-old dude running around doing this, his
Mhm.
grandkids. And it can be something as simple as we do have one grandchild. It was through the marriage. She already had a child. The girl was scared to death of me. I don't know why. I mean, I'm not that big. I'm 5'11", bald head, but for one reason or another, she was terrified. And this went on for weeks. This wasn't like just at the very beginning. It was like she was
Mhm.
always afraid of me. So one day I grabbed my laptop and I walked over and I sat on the floor. Now, at this place, we had tile floors.
Mhm.
I sat down. And a lot of people said, don't sit down unless you have a plan to get back up.
Mhm.
But I was fit enough to be able to sit on the floor, open up my laptop, and put it on a video of SpongeBob off of YouTube. So she comes over and sits right next to me and watches that episode of SpongeBob. And I get done and I ask her, I turn to her, I said, would you like to watch another? And she says, yes, please. And so then I play another one. Now, I spent nearly an hour sitting on the floor watching a video of SpongeBob, you know, not my favorite show, not so bad.
That's beside the
Uh,
point. You made a very, very, a wonderful and noble sacrifice for her.
right. But it's fine. You move around a little bit, you squirm. You can't sit
Mhm.
on a tile floor not
Mhm.
moving. So I was moving around, I was squirming, but I was capable.
Mhm.
And that was the whole point. I had
Mhm.
trained to be able to do other things, but this made me capable to do the things that mattered. I was
Mhm.
able to build a relationship with her that I never would have built sitting in the chair
Mhm.
with her on the floor.
So let me ask you this. How old were you at that point?
Probably something like 52,
Okay.
53.
Because that's what I call, you call, what is it? Something for task. What did you call that?
Fit for task.
Fit for task. I call it
Yeah,
functional fitness
right,
because
right.
it's just like, that from my
But
PT
but
background,
but
function is everything, right?
yeah,
So it's the same
exactly.
thing.
Function is everything. And
Yeah.
that's what it is. But I think so many people get it and say, well, of course you have to exercise and you have to work out. And they're like, I don't really want to do those things.
Mhm.
And I'm like, well, you don't have to, but you have to
Mhm.
train.
Mhm.
You have to train for the life you want to have because if you're not training, you're going to lose
Mhm.
that function. And
Mhm.
so, be it being able to open my own pickle jar or being able to get
Mhm.
on the floor with grandkids or to
Mhm.
keep up with them at the zoo. How many times do you see someone sitting at a bench at the entrance of the zoo waiting for the kids to come back and tell them about their visit to the
Oh,
zoo?
so sad.
Okay. That doesn't have to be you. You can
Mhm.
have the stamina to keep up
Mhm.
with them. You just have to train for it.
I'm glad you brought up the house. A lot of people don't like exercise or don't want to exercise because I am a physical therapist who hates exercise and thinks that chocolate is food, but because I think it is. But I love movement. And once you find something that really resonates with you, that excites you, whether it is lifting weights, going to a dance class, going for a long walk in the park, whatever it is that gets you moving is perfect for you. And the
Yeah.
one thing too, I want to highlight the getting down on the floor. I have all of my clients. That's the one thing you've got to do every single day is to get down on the floor and back up again. And I had one
Yeah.
client who just absolutely refused. She goes, I can't. I absolutely can't. And I'm like, okay, it's all right. You don't have to. You've made a lot of progress, so we'll just stick with that. And just dropped it. Couple weeks later, it was about a month later, she came into my office and she just was like very smug. And she said, well, I just want you to know that I don't get down on the floor every day. And I said, I know we already had this conversation. She says, I don't do it once a day. I do it twice a day. And I said,
Perfect.
you figured it out. And she said, yes. And I said, what finally was the clincher that made you decide you were going to do this? Her daughter was expecting her first baby, so she was going to have her first grandchild. She wanted to be able to
Mm.
get down on the floor and play with the
Yeah.
baby and get back up again, carry the baby up and down the stairs. So it was like, you've got to find what motivates you.
Yes.
And everybody has something.
They're
And
all around
why?
us. It's every
Hmm.
person in our life that we want to be around for. And, you don't want them taking care of you. You don't want to
Nope.
be dependent. And
Yeah.
so this is just the idea that there are things you're going to need to do. Some people are going to end up on the floor involuntarily. As we get
Hmm.
older, falls
Hmm.
happen. So having additional muscle mass and bone density is valuable if you were to fall, which over the age of 65, the likelihood of that is a lot higher.
Hmm.
Once you do find yourself on the ground, you do have to get back up
Hmm.
or you stay there. And there's commercials for that. They sell tools that you can
Hmm.
call people to come
Hmm.
pick you up because you can't do it yourself. And all it would take is, as you said, a little bit of work, a little bit of training. I had one client, she told me she got winded walking to her car. So literally, when she got up in the morning, she's going to work. She walked to her car in the carport. She'd get winded. And so I said, okay. I said, tomorrow, what I want you to do, when you get to your car, I want you to do one lap around your car and get in the car. And so she did that. So the first 3 days we were talking about it, she says, yeah, that was hard. She said, but it's getting easier. And I
Hmm.
said, okay, tomorrow I want you to do 2 laps.
Hmm.
And so we progressed from that. Within about 3 weeks, she was walking the neighborhood after work
Hmm.
because she built that stamina up.
Hmm.
And so now when she had her granddaughter over for the weekend, she was able to keep up with her more.
Hmm.
And I encouraged her to get down on the ground with her granddaughter. And when her granddaughter lost interest, which they do, and goes run somewhere else, then get up and
Hmm.
do that as many times as you feel confident that you can do that. And she did it, and she got better and better. Her
Hmm.
relationship with her granddaughter got a lot better.
Hmm.
And so it's just this opportunity, and it's kind of the coolest thing. The human
Hmm.
body
Hmm.
has this magic ability. It's just phenomenal to heal and repair and get better. There's no machine out there that can make itself better,
Hmm.
but the human body can. If you train it to do something, it will get better and you will feel better and you'll have more capacity and you'll live a better life.
As long as you give it the right environment to heal, it will do that. And our bodies were made to last a lot longer than we think they are, or that they were meant to. We've been told by society, by medical experts, sometimes the fitness industry, like you said, those books for the over 50 crowd. Oh, that just drives me crazy. And when I was getting ready to write my first book, Fitness Over 50, I was looking around for other resources, and I'm like, this is insulting. And even sometimes in the physical therapy world, it was like you've got two choices for exercise when you're 50 and over. You can just sit in the chair and do like chair weights and chair aerobics, or go to a 20-year-old fitness trainer who has no idea what the body really needs at a certain age. So yeah, it's just that drives me crazy. You're over 50, you need to sit back, relax, don't work too hard, don't strain, don't stress. It's amazing what we can do.
Yes, absolutely.
And the other thing I wanted to say too about getting down on the floor, since you mentioned the falls over 65, when you get down on the floor, and this is for the listeners, I want you to really understand how important this is. When you get down on the floor every single day, crawl around, roll around, do whatever, follow your dogs, they'll show you what to do. But when you do that, then you don't have a fear of the floor and a fear of falling. And a lot of us, as we get to be a certain age, we fall because we're so afraid to fall that we eventually do. So make the floor
Yeah.
your friend.
Yeah. We change our gait. It's a natural thing. It's like
Mhm.
we'll be walking across the floor. You watch older people and it's like they're walking across ice. And we're
Mhm.
all naturally going to be afraid of falling on the ice. So we're all going to change our gait,
Mhm.
which actually makes us top heavy and more likely to fall and
Mhm.
fall to the side, which is the more dangerous way of falling.
Mhm.
But with thinner bones and weaker muscles, the
Mhm.
likelihood of something breaking while you fall is even higher. So again, all of this is just about doing little things. It's not huge things. I'm
Mhm.
not asking you to go into the gym and start, pressing iron. It's little things. You can buy resistance bands, and that's going to help
Mhm.
you maintain and maybe even build some muscle. Um, it's just little things, but they
Mhm.
add up. They add up a lot.
It's almost like, earning interest when you've got money in the bank. And,
Yeah.
a little bit at a time, pretty soon you've got a whole lot of money put away. And it's the same thing. You do not have to do, you don't have to set aside an hour, go to the gym 3 times a week. Everything, every single day, even small things just really add up exponentially.
Yeah. I look at it like you've got a subscription to something that you don't need anymore. And every month that 9.99 is coming out of your bank account. And it's a non-interest bearing bank account. So every day, every month that goes by, you have less money in that account
Mhm.
because you're not doing anything to put any money in.
Mhm. So
But the
funny how
money's going to keep coming out.
we think alike. I love that. So now when did you decide that it was time to open up? Okay, so now you had all these certifications. And when did you decide it was time for you to start working with people? And when did you start your online program? And what was that like? What was the motivating factor for that?
Okay. So as you can imagine, that losing 66 pounds of fat, you look
Mhm.
different.
Mhm.
When people saw pictures of me having finished the Tough Mudder, that had just seen me 8 months earlier, um, they're like, what did you do? I want what you have. What did you do?
Mhm.
And so it occurred to me that nothing had really changed. There were still no books out there for people over 40 and how to take care of themselves. There were also still no podcasts. There were no
Mhm.
coaches. Um, and the thing that I came to then was more, this was not a physical challenge. This
Mhm.
change was not physical. Yes,
Mhm.
there was physical stuff involved. It was almost all mental.
Mhm.
So when people start throwing percentages like this is 50-50 or 90-10, it's 99-1.
Mhm.
If you put your head towards something, it will happen. It will happen. You just have to keep doing it, and that's all in your head. And so I knew that I could help people do exactly what I did. It was not as hard as I thought it was once I got the headspace right. And I knew that if I was the coach holding people accountable, that I could keep them motivated long enough to see really good results. So I
Mhm.
decided, yes, I'll go ahead and I'll start the podcast. And so I started the podcast. This was December. Well, I kind of started all this around August or July, August of 15. I had done the Tough
Wow.
Mudder in 2014. So I launched the podcast December 6th of 2015. So yeah,
Wow.
I'm an OG. Um,
You are. Congratulations. Wow, that's amazing.
and so I launched the podcast and I put it out there and I was on Facebook and I had taken a couple of clients. They were friends. It was a friend and his wife because he's like, "Would you help me?" I'm like, "Okay, I will," but it's
Mhm.
content for my podcast. Okay, so our coaching calls are also content for my podcast.
Mhm.
And so I coached John and his wife Tammy. John and I went to high school together, so same age, same basic demo, very very similar. We both shave our head. We both have wives named Tammy,
Mhm.
that kind of thing. Anyway, I coached them for 10 weeks, and John lost 39 pounds, and Tammy lost 28. And the thing about Tammy was that she's having back problems. So she really couldn't exercise. She was flat on her back for most of that 8 weeks. I mean, at 10 weeks, she still lost 28 pounds. And so at that point, I kind of know, okay, I know how this works. Everybody's still unique, and I still have to think about them as individuals and what their particular needs are. But I,
Mhm.
I saw that there was an opportunity. So I thought, okay, I will start doing this part time. I still had my job, and I was
Mhm.
still working, making the money, but I was doing this on the side. And then in December of 2000, well, September of 2017, I was told I was being laid off at the end of the year. And
Hmm.
so I laid off my whole department. Whole department was outsourced. So I laid off everybody in my department. And then December 31st, I went full time at this. I told my wife, I said, yes, I could go back and get that kind of job again, but I don't want to. I don't
Mhm.
like those people. I don't like being in boardrooms where we're talking about head count and span of control. And you're like, oh,
Mm.
we'll just cut another 20%. And I'm like, no, this is not just cutting head count. You know, his son's having some drug problems. She just bought a
Mhm.
house. We gave her a raise and a promotion in February, and now we're going to lay her off. She just bought a house.
Oh my
This
God.
person's having difficulty with their kids and a relationship problem. And so these are individuals. And I'm like, I don't want to be in a place where I'm having to do bad things to good people. I'd
Mhm.
rather be in a place where I'm doing good things or great things for good people. And that's
Mhm.
why I went ahead and decided to do this full time. So since December of 2017, I've been coaching online full time.
Well, congratulations. I want to go back to the mindset thing just to make a point because you said, once you put your mind to something, that you can do it, you can do anything. And of course you can. I'm a firm believer in that. But then there's a flip side. If you tell yourself you can't do something, then you will never be able to do it. So be
Exactly.
very, very careful what you tell yourself.
Right. Now I've identified in all my coaching, I've identified five little buckets. Okay. I
Mhm.
call them buckets, but five different types of mindset that can set you back or help you out.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, my book, I used cars, roadmap. And so this kind of blended into that whole concept of cars. So the first one, and it's what I found myself with when I was really struggling, was that I was what I call a windshield person. And what it means is I was always looking in the rear view mirror at who I was, trying to do it like I was, and it wasn't working. I was hurting
Mhm.
myself. I wasn't getting there. I wasn't figuring it out. And so a windshield person needs to stop looking in the rear view mirror because that's what's holding them back. And they
Mhm.
need to turn their head and realize where their car is today and
Mhm.
where the windshield's facing, where they're going.
Mhm.
As soon as you start looking where you're going, you go there.
Mhm.
Okay. So that's the windshield. And then after I kind of got past that one, I started having another one. And this was what I call tires. Now, tires are people who really need traction. So you live in an area where it gets icy. When you're going up an icy hill, you don't stop. If you've got
Mhm.
traction, you just steady on the gas and you just keep going. Unfortunately, if you lose that traction, you're going to slide back down the hill and maybe even into the ditch. So a tires person needs to keep traction or they lose it. So
Mhm.
there's someone who really gets good with the gamification or
Mhm.
seeing streaks like, okay, I'm going to do this every day for
Mhm.
100 days. And they're marking it on the calendar and they feel good seeing the marks on the calendar and it keeps
Mhm.
them doing it because they're motivated. So they've just taken that principal mindset of I need consistency and I need
Mhm.
traction. They just give themselves a way to feel that, to see it.
Mhm.
Then I found myself more like an Atlas, and so this was the whole signing up for the Tough Mudder. And Atlas is someone, and by Atlas I don't mean the guy holding the earth, the Greek god. What I mean is the Atlas we used to have, and so younger people don't
Mhm.
know what those are. But
Mhm.
an Atlas we used to when we're going to take a family trip, you get an Atlas, you take a red felt marker, and you'd mark the trail you were going to take to drive. And what this said, everybody in the car could see where we are along the trip, how long we have to go. And so as an Atlas destination. You need something in front of you that you're charging toward rather than just trying to maintain or just do
Mhm.
it. Because then
Mhm.
things get meaningless. It's like, why am I here? Why am I doing this? I don't really want to do this. What's the point? So an atlas needs that thing in front of them that keeps them motivated. And so that's where I am today. I'm an atlas mindset.
Mhm.
So I just want to make sure I have things I'm thinking about in the future. That's why the wiping my butt when I'm 105, that kind of stuff is in my head because that's a destination. That's a roadmap for me.
Mhm.
Okay, another one, and a lot of people will know this because this is one of the big ones, is a co-pilot. Now, co-pilot feels responsible for everyone around her, usually hers, but sometimes him's. But it's car. They got to take care of the kids. They got to take care of the husband. They're doing their own job. They're also volunteering here, and they got this thing and that thing,
Mhm.
and all of those things take up all the space that's left in their life, and they
Mhm.
don't have time for themselves. And so that's their complaint. Well, I got to do these other things for my family, therefore I can't do for me. Now you
Mhm.
can tell them over and over, the whole airplane thing, put on your mask first and all that.
Mhm.
But that's not the right answer. The right answer is this: their support team is right there in front of them.
Mhm.
They just have to ask,
Mhm.
hey, honey, can you get the kids ready for bed, give them the bath, get them ready for bed while I go down and do my workout? And then we can both read them the bedtime story and put them to bed. Or, honey, can you get them dressed and ready for school? Grab their that's already in the fridge while I go do my workout.
Mhm.
And so I had one client, she told her family she needed their help and that she wanted to do batch cooking on the weekend. So they needed a meal plan. And
Mhm.
her daughter got super hyper engaged. She's like, Mom, remember when we used to make those breakfast bowls and you would
Mhm.
put them in the freezer and we can pull them out, we can microwave them when we had our own breakfast? She's like, we could do that. Those are healthy breakfasts. And she's
Wow.
absolutely. So they're making these breakfast bowls on the weekend together as a family to give her just a little extra spare time for
Mhm.
self-care.
I
Okay.
have to
And
say
so,
that is such a beautiful example, and thank you for bringing that up. But I have to tell you, and I'm sure a lot of the women who are listening to this right now are thinking maybe the same thing. Co-pilots are terrible at asking for help. I mean,
yes,
it is just the hardest thing to do because we're the ones who are the co-pilot, and without us, everything's just going to fall apart and that plane's going down.
okay. Well, true, but there's also an autopilot on that plane. And so you can figure out ways to set some autopilots, and
Mhm.
the other crew members are there to help you. You're not serving the drinks in the back and flying the plane. Are you, you know, there are things you can do. And so it's just
Mhm.
just asking for help. And again, it's a little thing. Could you get them together for their bath, get them ready for bed, and then I'll meet you up there for the bedtime story and tuck
Mhm.
in. Okay. You just have to do that little ask. And when you do, and here's the cool thing, they're your reason why.
Mhm.
They're the reason why you're doing this. And so when you tell them, look, I want to be the best mom I can be. I want to be the best wife I can be. I want to be the best person in your lives. And the way I do that is by keeping myself healthy and fit
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
sane. And to do that, I need 45 minutes
Mhm.
each day dedicated to self care and movement.
Mhm.
And if you'll
Mhm.
give me that, and here's some ways we can make that happen as a family,
Mhm.
then I'm going to be a better mother, a
Well,
better
not only
wife.
that, that is an incredible role model for the kids to see
Yeah.
mom being healthy, working out, taking care of herself. That is a really setting a fantastic example for her family.
Absolutely. So the final one, the fifth and final one, is what I call the pedals. These are pedals of the car. So you have a gas pedal and a brake pedal. So what'll happen here is you'll hear about this new exercise program, and so you'll go ahead and you'll buy it or you'll subscribe, and then you'll do it for a few weeks, and you're not really seeing the results that you
Mhm.
expected, and so you hit the gas. I mean the brake. And then there's a special diet you hear about, and so you're like, well, I guess I'll try this diet, and you do the diet for a few weeks and it's unsustainable and it's hard and you're not seeing the results, so you hit the brake.
Mhm.
And so a pedals person has to realize that that brake is not how you go forward.
Mhm.
Waiting and hitting the brake are not how you get where you want to go.
Mhm.
You're just going to have to pick something that
Mhm.
seems reasonable for you and then do it and do it long enough to see what it's going to do for you. It's
Mhm.
not going to be done in a week. It's not going to be done in 3 weeks. It might
Mhm.
take a few months before you really start to see what you're accomplishing, particularly on the outside,
Mhm.
but you got to give it time. So you got to keep your foot on that gas and keep moving forward. So, all of us have probably little bits and pieces of all five of these, but I
Mhm.
find there's one that's a primary. That primary one is the one that when you solve that, you really feel like you're moving forward. And that acceleration you feel when you do that kind of helps drive you to keep going. And then you might find another one that's there. Like I said, I went from windshield to then I'm like, okay, I got to keep traction. So I'm
Mhm.
putting all my stuff in a notebook and I'm filling up a notebook. I'm like feeling good. Okay, another page of the notebook, another day, another workout.
Mhm.
And then at a point, I'm like, okay, this is good, but what's the point? And that's when I
Mhm.
needed to have something big and scary in front of me. And that's when I signed up for the Tough Mudder.
Mhm. Well, that certainly was big and scary. I did want to make a comment that, even if you're starting this program and you're taking care of yourself and you're, making your little, keeping records of what you're doing, even if you're not seeing physically yet any change or any progress, just look at the progress you're making on paper, there's that positive reinforcement to help keep you going because you're doing
Yeah.
it. And that's
Yes.
what you said, the momentum. I guess we didn't talk about momentum, but the acceleration.
Yeah. You start feeling it. So the way I like to look at this, because it's all collective, and you talked about
Mhm,
self-talk a little bit earlier, is that if you think about your body, imagine that your body has an internal brain that's not yours. Okay. So it's in here but it can't see the outside world. It doesn't know what's going on. So what it's relying on is it's relying on the nutrition you give it. Okay. Are we getting good quality food or not? Are we getting enough or not? Are we getting too much or not? And it's making decisions about what the world's doing outside and whether it should
mhm,
be safe, whether it's safe or whether it should be afraid.
mhm,
Okay. If you're not moving enough, okay, why are we not out and about doing things? What's going on? Is there something dangerous out there that I should know about? Because for some reason or another, this person's hibernating in the cave and not out there hunting and foraging and doing the things that
right.
I expect it to do.
Mhm,
Something's wrong. I'm going to turn on the cortisol. I'm not going to help you lose weight. I'm going to
mhm,
stay in a very tense and stressed place. Also, how well we're sleeping and
mhm,
our basic stress and what's going on in our lives. But then maybe one of the biggest ones is this voice that we all have. I guess someone put on a thing saying there are people who do not have the monologue. So that may be the case, but I think almost everybody I've ever talked to does have an internal voice that says things to them, and they're not nice things. And they're not things you would say to your best friend. So if your best friend was trying to lose weight and they went through and polished off 6 donuts,
mhm,
you're not going to call them the names you're calling yourself. Okay, that's feedback to your body. Am I
mhm,
safe? Can I do the things I need to do?
mhm,
And that's feedback. That's something you're telling your body that you don't like it. Something's wrong with it. And so when I was in that state of calling myself the fat bastard, that's
mhm,
who I was. That's what that's that internal voice saying that thing to me. And that was not helping me.
mhm,
What helped me was for me to see where I needed to be, the
mhm,
man I needed to be, not who I was.
mhm,
And I knew I wanted to be a participant in my daughter's life. And the only way that was going to happen was for me to do the work.
mhm. Sometimes we just need to get out of our own way, right?
Yeah. We are always in our way. So we can
Mhm,
decide how fast we're going to go and how we're going to get
mhm,
there. All that's within our power. We just have to make those decisions, turn them into commitments, and
mhm.
make it happen.
So let me ask you this. Let's go back to that day on the beach, okay? And you almost thought that, you should almost be taken to the hospital after trying to play just one game of volleyball. If you could have either looked into the future or if somebody pulled you aside and said, Alan, don't worry about it. This is what you're going to be doing at the age you are now. What would you have said to them?
Well, definitely wouldn't have believed it because
Hmm.
I was in this career that was going to make me the money. I was
Hmm.
going to have these things that was
Hmm.
just always a given.
Hmm.
I remember sitting on the beach in Pensacola right after I passed the CPA exam. I took a 2-day vacation. I had the job. This job gave me 4 days of vacation per year when I first took it because of where I was. I got 4 days and I was studying for the CPA exam. I had to take 2 of them just to take the exam. So I had 2 vacation days left. I paired them with my 1 day off and I went to Pensacola Beach for 3 days. And I was sitting there walking the beach and I saw this house and it was the coolest, beautifulest, I mean, most beautiful house I'd seen in my life at that point. And I was walking around it, looking at it. They even had a bird house that was a complete replica of the house.
Wow.
And exactly. And I was like, this is incredible. And that I sat there that day and said, I will own a house on this beach. Okay. And I did. I have. I sold it, but I have had a house on that beach. Um, so I was always someone who knew I could do hard things and accomplish things, and I had dreams. So if someone said, yeah, Alan, you're going to sell everything you own and move to a Caribbean island, you're going to give up a high paying job to help people. No, I would not have believed that, but
Mhm.
here I am.
And there you are. Ellen, where can people find you?
Okay, well, I made a special page just for this episode. You can go to 40plusfitness.com/FemiNinja. That's 40PLUSFITNESS.com, FemiNinja.
Mhm. Okay. Well, thank you so much for being here. But before we sign off, do you have one final little pearl of wisdom that you can leave with the listeners for them to chew on, so to speak? You've given us so much information, so many wonderful tips, such great advice. One final little pearl of wisdom.
Today, sit down and figure out your why. Why do you need to be here tomorrow? Why do you need to be here in years? Why do you need to be here in 30 years?
Hmm.
Some of those whys might not be born yet, but
Hmm.
they're there.
Hmm.
And if you have that why tight to your chest and you're ready, you can accomplish anything you need to for them. They mean that much to you. And when it's that emotionally compelling to you, the rest of it gets easier and easier.
Perfect. Thank you again so much for being here, Alan. It has been wonderful. I've loved this conversation.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Everybody, thank you so much for listening. I probably don't have to encourage you to share this episode with everybody you know because you're probably going to do it already. But when you do listen to the episode and share it, and you want to get started, I would suggest grab a partner so you can do it as a team and support each other. You get a lot more done that way. I'm not saying accountability partner, I'm just saying encourage each other, support each other, love each other, and celebrate every single achievement and accomplishment, no matter how small. And remember, our bodies are incredible. We can heal from anything, we can do anything we want at any age, as long as we give our body the environment to do so. And so just remember that and just keep on moving and stay healthy. And that is the way of the FemiNinja.